Welcome to Simple Steps to Success. Today we're going to be looking at module number 9, which is entitled Unlocking the Mystery of Wealth. I believe wealth is a mystery to many because I see a lot of people who work very hard, but they still struggle with being wealthy, and they feel that they don't have enough financial resources. And I think it's very important to understand why this happens. And I think it's also important to understand how we can actually increase our chances of having more wealth in our lives. And this is what I'm going to be showing you today. And just a reminder again that these are my own thoughts and ideas that have helped me and my clients. They do not reflect the thoughts or opinions of others. They're only ideas to help and assist you. And for best results, please go through these modules in the correct order. So our objective today is on how you can have a more wealthy life. I believe if you understand what true wealth is, you will be able to have a much more abundant life. You will be able to increase your income and improve all the other areas of your life. I also believe that life for you will feel more complete and satisfying, and you'll feel a sense of relief and also be inspired on a regular basis. So let's talk about what wealth is. Well, one thing I do know is that companies, the media, financial institutions, schools, and society are really trying to define what wealth is for us. And the reason I say this is because millions and millions of dollars are spent on marketing. And I believe that this is happening because these institutions that I talked about, they have their own agenda. And that is for them to convince you to buy their products and services. And the problem is that when we get influenced like this, we actually get distracted from our definition of success. And then we begin to chase the wrong things, and then we make great sacrifices. And on top of that, because of this, then we become unhappy and stressed out, and then we have a lack of fulfillment. And I believe that being influenced in the wrong way is actually the reason why many people actually have a lack of money. So my thought is, and the more I study wealth and how to increase my income, I realized that we should not trust other people to tell us what wealth is. In fact, I believe that if we want to be wealthy, we need to have our own definition of what wealth is. So I'm going to share with you why I'm saying this, and I'm also going to share with you some research that I uncovered. And the first thing I did was I actually researched what money is. And money is very important and it's necessary. So there's no argument there. But I also find that the majority of us actually feel that we lack money. And what's interesting is I also found out that money actually has no intrinsic value. So what does that mean? Well, what I'm saying is that there's nothing inherently valuable attached to the money that we spent. So in previous years, there was either gold or silver attached to the money that we spent, and that was something tangible. Today, there's nothing tangible that's attached to the money that we spend or even receive for our work. And this is what you call fiat currency. And basically what this means is that the money is only as valuable as the government says it is. Now this can create a problem. It can create a problem because money can devalue significantly overnight. And this is also why it becomes very risky to leave our money in a bank. And also, based on other economies that have had a fiat currency, their economies have failed. So it becomes very important to understand that money is not the thing that we should be chasing. In Germany, the value of the currency, the paper that the money was spent on, was worth nothing. So what would happen was the people that were living at that time, they were very cold and they didn't have heat. So instead of burning the wood, they actually burnt the money to stay warm. And the reason for this is because the wood was worth more than the money. So that's why they burnt the money. So this is a really interesting story, and why it's important to mention that the money itself isn't the value. So what is money exactly? Well, money actually does not improve our life after a certain amount. So I believe the amount that they've put forward is that after $75,000 a year, the enjoyment of having more money actually doesn't increase that much. But you do need a certain amount to feel happy. Money can also cause stress and problems. And I've seen families fight over money, and it can also destroy relationships. But what's also very interesting is that people who are rich are still poor. So how can this be? And the reason is because a lot of rich people spend more than they earn. So this is something to consider as well. And there's also people who are not making that much money, but are extremely wealthy because they actually spend less than they earn, and they have the right mindset when it comes to being wealthy. And this is key. So again, I realized that money is not the thing that we should be chasing. We should actually be chasing something else, or trying to build something else. And I want to share this quote with you, and this is by Benjamin Franklin, who is actually on the US $100 bill, which is quite ironic when you read this quote, because he says that money never made a man happy yet, nor will it. There is nothing in its nature to produce happiness. The more a man has, the more he wants. Instead of filling a vacuum, it makes one. So this is a very powerful quote that really caused me to think about money in a different way. I also took a quote from Sigmund Freud, and he says that it is impossible to escape the impression that people commonly use false standards of measurements, that they seek power, success, and wealth for themselves and admire them in others, and that they underestimate what is of true value in life. So this is interesting, because this shows that what we consider to be valuable may not actually be the thing that is valuable. And here's another quote from Warren Buffett. He's considered to be one of the most richest men in the world. And what he says is quite similar. He says that people seeking riches never have enough. Wealth is a state of mind. Wealthy people always have enough. So this was very powerful when I read this. So the main points that I got from my research about money and looking at some of the quotes from a lot of people I admire is this. And that is that we need to determine what wealth means for us. And if we start going after other people's definition of wealth, it is actually going to create poverty in our lives. And the reason for this is because we will become confused and go for the wrong things when we don't know what wealth really is. For example, if we chase money, money actually has no intrinsic value, and tomorrow it could be worth less. So this is very important to consider. Another reason we should not go for somebody else's definition of success or of wealth is that we may not appreciate what we have. And if we don't appreciate what we have, we can never be wealthy, because we will always feel a sense of lack, scarcity, and a lack of gratitude. And you need these things, especially gratitude, in order to attract more wealth in your life. Another reason that we should not look at somebody else's definition of wealth is because we can possibly sacrifice the wrong things, such as time with our loved ones or our health. Another reason is because when we start looking at somebody else's definition of wealth, we may try to be like the other person. And the problem is that when we're trying to be like the other person, we rob ourselves of our own gifts and talents that we've been given. So how should we become wealthy? How do we become wealthy? And I believe that the way to do this is to stop thinking only of financial wealth. Because once you only think of financial wealth, there's still a chance that you can still feel empty and poor. And I have seen this with many people who have financial wealth, but they do not have a good family relationship. Their marriages are kind of messed up and they're suffering from that standpoint. Their health is suffering. So what I think we need to do here is we need to understand what wealth means in a different point of view. And also one thing I've noticed is that most people who sacrifice their life to make a lot of money, what happens is they end up actually spending all that money to be happier. So at the end of it, they have very little money and they never really had very much happiness when they were growing up or as they were getting older. So in my opinion, to become wealthy, we need to think beyond just money. What we need to do is we need to start focusing on building a wealthy life. So what I mean by this is that we need to start looking at things that are valuable to us. And when we start building things that are valuable to us, then we can actually start seeing the money come to us naturally. One of the things that I've noticed when you build a wealthy life is that your relationships get better. You begin to enjoy amazing experiences. Your mental, your emotional health, they begin to skyrocket. And you automatically attract great people and amazing opportunities as well. But in order for this to happen, you need to become a person of value. When you become a person of value, you become somebody who builds a life where they're consistently giving value to other people. Giving value to other people. And the reason why this is important is because the natural result of giving value to others results in wealth for you or a more fulfilled life. So what are some ways you can do this? One great way to do this is to help other people. Another one is to look for problems in our society and solve them. If you're good at giving helpful advice, that's another way to build wealth in your life. You may also be able to improve the mental health or the emotional state of other people. You may be able to figure out how to do something better that no one else has figured out before. You could also look at improving the health of other people. In addition to this, it becomes very important to understand that you don't follow the crowd, because the crowd, again, is probably going to influence you in terms of what they think wealth is. And remember, most people, they don't feel wealthy. So I've created a visual that made sense to me, and I'm going to describe it to you. And in this visual, what it's showing is that when people look at wealth, they only think of financial wealth. And so they go for the financial wealth directly. And as a result, they miss out on the benefits of a wealthy life. Because although they may have financial wealth, many people still feel unhappy and poor. On the other hand, if you try to build a wealthy life, not only can you get financial wealth, you can also get self-confidence, happiness, opportunities, your relationships get better, and you feel much more fulfilled. And this is why it's important to become a person of value, because you can actually have all these great things come to you naturally when you start building value for other people and contributing to building a wealthy life. So here's a great quote from Tony Robbins, which I think sums it up better than I can. And what he says is that the secret to wealth is simple. Find a way to do more for others than anyone else does. Become more valuable, do more, give more, be more, serve more, and you will have the opportunity to earn more. So I think this is a great summary in terms of how to become a person of value. And I think it also shows this is the secret to being a wealthy individual. So I'm going to give you an exercise right now. And the exercise is for you to select an important area of your life where you can become a person of value. And then what I'd like you to do is list and write down how you can create more value for others. And then what I'd like you to do is actually track the results of adding more value for others. So track your results for 30 days and see what happens. And don't be surprised if you start seeing you start to feel better, notice that you start to feel better, your relationships improve, and other great opportunities will come to you naturally. Here is our summary for today. We talked about what wealth is. We looked at the difference between money and wealth. I defined to you what fiat currency was. And we looked at acquiring money as not being the goal, but instead we want to build a wealthy life. Then we looked at creating a new awareness of what wealth is. And then wealth can actually mean different things to different people. And having only money is not an accurate measurement of wealth. And lastly, we talked about how to build a wealthy lifestyle, and that is by becoming a person of value. Okay, so thank you very much, and we will see you in the next module.